Have you ever had to plaster a hand cove ceiling? Did you enjoy it? I know some plasterers absolutely love doing them and some don't love it as much. But look, in this video, we're going to go through not only just how to reskim one, but also how to form one. And as usual, I'm going to throw in loads of little hints and tips to help you along the way. Now, some you might know, some you might not. Before we get into this though, just know this. There's probably about 20 different ways you can do this. I'm going to cover one. Now, I've specifically chose the ways that I think are going to be the easiest for beginners. So, let me give you a little bit of background info on this job. The job was already done a couple of years back by another plasterer, and it was all lath and plaster. It's an old ceiling, and to be fair, it's got a big bow in the middle of it. You know, the joists are sagging, but they don't want to have the ceiling cut out, and they don't want to replace the joists. They just want it so there's no cracks in the ceiling. So what we've done is, we've gone in first thing in the morning, we've emptied all the furniture for them, because they didn't bother doing it, or as much as we could get out. We've overboarded the ceiling, and then, because we've overboarded it goes into a curve, there's a little step up then. So you can't board round the cove, you see, and we want a nice shape for the cove. So then we've filled it out of bonding. So you're going to get a little preview of how we fill that cove out, how we form it, how we make it from a back coat plaster. We've also put mesh in the sides because we can't board the sides of the walls because we'll be out in front of the picture rail. So we've meshed the sides, and then we've skimmed it, and we got it all done in one day. So it was a long day, but we got it all done. So what I thought I'd do was break the video down into little bits for you, and I've just omitted the boarding part. I didn't want you to have to suffer and go through watching me teach you how to plasterboard a ceiling when you probably already know. I mean, if in any doubt, there's a video here that you can have a little watch of, and if you do watch it, you'll see me little trick at how to get round a light, so you don't have to take the whole light fitting off. You can just drop it down. So that might be worth a watch for you. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. Let's just get straight into it. Right, so I think the best place to start is right at the start. We've been in this morning and we've overboarded the ceiling. We've located all the joists and we've screwed them boards up, dropped the light down. You can see where the boards end just before the cove. There's a little step we're going to have to deal with. Kieran's knocking up some bonding for us. And you can see there how I've got around the lights with me little special trick that you'll be able to see in that other video. So that's it. Ceiling's boarded. There he is. Look at the lad. I have to put up with him every day. Now, what you can't really see on the camera is around the edge of them boards, I have put scrim. So the scrim is going off the edge of the plasterboard and up and onto the old ceiling. Now, as well as that, I'm just dropping some bonding in there. You have to sort of put it in with a bit of a clunk, like you have to splat it in a little bit to make sure it stays up there, and then try and get the shape something close. But this is only the first pass. We will be going over it again shortly with a second pass of bonding. Now you'll see now, if you watch it, just plop it in. See, if you try and put it in gently, it'll just drop back out again. You've got to sort of put it up with a bit of force. Right. Another thing, try and keep in mind when you do this, as you block out the first bit, yeah, I always put a bit of pressure towards the back of the trowel, or if you're going the other way, you know, put it towards the front. This bit here is likely to pull away and pull the lot down, so I always just sort of just squidge that little end bit in there, and something else as well. So your scrims, when they're on, don't overlap your scrims when you're rounding in. Now, this has been done like that because never even told Kieran this, so we're all on it together today. Always cut your scrims and butt them up and never overlap them, because if this ever decides to drop out when you're filling out, if you put a little bit too much on, when it goes, it's going to take the scrim with it, and if all the scrims overlap, then the whole room's coming down in one go. So just butt them up to each other, so if it goes and the scrim comes down, it only goes, you know, just make your scrims all about 2 foot long, and that way if a bit goes, you're only going to lose 2 foot of it. I mean, if you're really fast, like a ninja, you have to just splosh it back into your trowel before it runs away with itself. But yeah, don't overlap your scrims when you're rounding in. Now, this is just the first pass, so you just nip that corner up. First pass with the bonding. I'm going to give it 2 passes, 2 coats, because you won't get it perfect. Well, I say perfect, you can get it good enough like this. You could skim over it if you spent a bit more time. But I always like to sort of block it out first, you know, build the body of it out, let it pick up a little bit, and then put a nice wet sort of second coat over it. And that really gets it nice then for when you come to skim it, it'll be a lot more straight. Notice where my handboard is when I'm doing this. Oh, my hawk. Flippy hawk. Just in case it drops. I mean, it probably wouldn't, but better to be safe than sorry, isn't it? Okay, so the first coat's on. Now, see these cracks that are in the frieze? The ceiling was covered in cracks and we've overboarded that. But the frieze there, this bottom part of the cove, can't overboard it because we'll be out in front of the picture rail. So we are now coming around the second pass and we're bedding mesh into here to get over all these cracks, you see, so they won't come back again. Oh, now is a good time to just jump in quickly and tell you as well. All the stuff that we're putting bonding on, it's all had SBR on it. Did I tell you that I like SBR? You don't have to use SBR. You could put blue grit, you could put PVA glue, you could put Plas Prime, Thistle Bond it, Becto Contact, anything. But you've got to put something. You can't, bonding won't just stick to paint, okay? You've got to put some sort of sealer on there first. If you're going to have a plasterboard's fine, doesn't need sealing. But anything that's been painted will need, even though it's bonding, it's not designed to stick to paint, okay? It's for low suction backgrounds, and when it's been primed, it's then a low suction background. So make sure you put your sealer on, and you can't skip that, by the way. If you use if you don't seal it, doesn't mean it's a high suction background. You can use hardwall instead. That won't work. If it's painted, it needs something putting on it, okay? Hope that clears it up. So this is also like your second pass with your bonding. So not only are we getting the mesh in, stop any cracking on the frieze part, the ceiling's board and no cracks coming there. We get the second pass on, which gets that cove lovely. It'd be a pleasure to skim once we do it this second. And this stuff's wet, it's almost as wet as finished now, you know. We're not really building out with it, we're just slightly altering the shape and getting over that mesh. Right, now, these curves, these hand curve ceilings, I can form these freehand. But if this is like your first go at it and you've never done it before and you're worried that might not come in perfect for you the first time, and if you haven't sort of like got someone, you know, watching over you, making sure that you're not going wild, then what you could do, you can form screeds for these. So get a bit of gear, you know, this is when it's still sort of square. Build it up a little bit first, yeah? You won't get it all whilst it's wet, by the way. If it's completely square ceiling, don't try and fill it all out in one go because it'll drop. But get it sort of square. Get something with a nice radius, the lid of a paint bucket, you know, customer's dinner plate, anything that's sort of like round, yeah? And just run it across it, let it pick up. Once it's sort of set, give it another coat and then give it another go with the plate. Now, you can do that for the whole wall. You can run a lid right down the whole wall, or you can just do a little section, and then about 5 foot later do another little section, and you're forming little screeds. Let all them set, and then once you fill the middles in, you can rule it off with your feather edge or your derby. I mean, ideally, it's lovely if you can rule all these off, but I get them straight enough, so I'm not worried. You know that if they're in and out, they're a pig to skim. So I sort of fill them out properly as I'm going. I can gauge it by the trowel, you know. If I keep getting hollows, I keep putting more gear in because I know it needs building out more. But you might find it easier. I mean, you could even hit it with your speed skim if you wanted to really make it pucker for when you come to skim over it. So there's a few options for you. You don't have to just freehand it. You can sort of screed it, and you can rule it off as well. The last little bit I want to show you is how to get your corners in nice and neat. Your internals, your externals are easy. I always work away from the Addis. or the external corner. I always work away from it. If you work into it, you'll pull it off. So I always work like away from the corner and you'll cut it off nice and neat. I'll show you the internal. Come up here. These things, you can get them, little plastic spatulas. I mean, you can use anything really. I don't like using my trowel because it's not as straight. This seems to get a lot better. I think they're about a £5 on Amazon, so you just get yourself some of that. I'm just paying attention right in the angle. See how little line's just been left. Just getting the corners so there's nothing big sticking out. Now you're going to skim this and do the same thing again. That's it, ready for skimming. No big bits sticking out, you know. If there was any major hollows, I'm not worried about that little hollow. If there's any major big hollows and deviations, then, you know, get rid of those as well. But, you know, just make sure all the big lines are gone. Just getting it ready. As soon as it starts to firm up and go dark, we'll start putting some finish on then. Well, saying that, Kevin's going to go and get us some noodles first, and then we'll put some finish on after we net. Now, starting the skimming now, and look at the bonding. You can see it's starting to go off in patches. Look over here. A bit dark, a bit light. You're starting getting dark patches. I know the stuff's going off. So now you can see where I've put on already. It stays lovely and wet on the bonding. Bonding is designed to be skimmed over the same day, you see. So that's just nice now. So the longer you leave it from this point onwards, the more you start to get suction from it. And if you seem to skim over it when it's wetter, you start getting bubbles from it. So you've got to sort of just try and time it perfect. When you go coming up into your curves, I mean, these are only shallow, these ones here. I mean, everyone can do these. But if you start to get ripples, if you start to sort of like do this and you're getting like, you know, bits that are squaring out, use this one simple little technique. Come up, yeah, and go 45, like a 45-degree angle like that. I don't need to do that because I don't get the ripples in it, but that's one little way to stop you sort of like getting a judder in the angle if you just come across it 45 degrees. Anyway, I'm messing around a bit too much. I need to carry on. I've got the rest of the ceiling to go on, so I'll stop talking and carry on. You can join back in a minute. Okay, so when you come through the cove, you want to be trying to reach the centre of the ceiling as well, so you don't end up with a big bit missing out the middle, you know. Again, if you're struggling getting it in the cove without juddering, if you sort of judder in there, then come diagonal, you know, come out like that, and that sort of reduces that for you. Or if, you know, if you've got the nice flick of the wrist, you know, if you've got the good wrist action, then you don't need to so much worry about that. Now the key is as well, if you haven't done many of these, take your time in the cove, you know, come up nice and slow, and just look where the other side of your trowel is. You don't want to dig in. And when you come back down again, same again, just go nice and slow. Make sure you don't dig in. The last thing you want to do is sort of go like that, you know. That's the nightmare. So take your time to avoid it. Keep the back edge of your trowel clean, you know, get your water brush and wash it off. Watch them cut your finger doing that. So I take a sweep up and pull it in, and then I bring it back down again. I take a little bit, you know, my little system, I always take a little bit and go in neat and then back up again. Yeah, so watch. Take it from there, I don't go right down to the picture where I start above it. I go up I stop there, I take a bit, I go in neat, I come back down to there, I take a bit, I go in neat, and that's it. I just follow that same system over and over again. I'll show you now how to get that corner as well, because the corners are a little bit of faffing round and a bit different. And I don't finish them with the trowel, because the trowel's not truly straight and your corner ends up all a funny shape and really awkward to get the lines out of it. So we'll do a little bit of I'll show you how to get the stuff in the corner, but then later on you'll see that I sort of finish the corner a completely different way. A few little high spots on the bonding we didn't get there. Right, so here we go. Let's just, don't rush, you know, just work methodical, you know, nice and steady. Now, the first part of the corner, you can just put that in flat, that's easy enough. It's this section here, because that's curved, and that's square, so it gets quite interesting trying to get the stuff in there. Now, I'm going to load up the back corner of my trowel there. I'm going to put it in there. I've got to sort of come away now. You usually drop a little bit when you do this, but here, it's just a bit of a pain. Right. Now, you've got to put it up first to get it in there, but then you get it neater when you come back down again. See, when you're coming up, this is digging to this side, but when you're coming down, it's not. So you can sort of go in neater, yeah, and then in neater, right? And then just take the lines out. Now, this side's a bit easier because it's the toe of your trowel. Load the front of the trowel up. Now I'm actually touching both corners. You can see I'm digging in there to that side. Watch this now. Now, if I go from there, like that, it's just a little bit of faffing around with these corners. Again, don't have to get them absolutely perfect, because we're going to finish them with a different tool. And come down, you get neat coming down. See? Now, that corner, that's good enough. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, because that plastic thing I showed you, the plastic spatula that I use for the bonding, that's how I'm going to finish the corners with that, not with this. This is almost like, it's not impossible. I have done loads with the trowel. You can just sort of fanny around them, but they're never perfect. They look good, but if you ever got like a straight edge on them, they're not perfect. Whereas the little spatula will get it perfect. So I'll show you that when we're troweling up. Right, now, we're getting straight on with the second coat. This has gone really quite firm. Now, people always say to me, oh, don't you flatten in between coats? Well, no, look, I spend more time putting it on nice and neat, so it doesn't need flattening, it's flat already. If it was messy, you know, if you've got loads of lines in it, then maybe flatten in between coats, but if you sort of get used to just taking your time and doing a nice job of it, you won't need to flatten in. The only time I ever flatten in between coats is with Artex, and that's because of my little system that I like to use to skim over Artex ceilings. I mean, I've done a load of videos on them, you can go and have a look at them. But that's really the only time I tend to flatten between coats. Otherwise, just get it straight on. And this now, we're just following the same process as before. Just taking it nice and steady. And going around the same way. Now, it's a bit inevitable when you're doing these COVE ceilings you will end up dropping a little bit. But try and not drop any. I mean, this stuff now is like, what's it, £12 a bag? It's like pink gold, so don't worry about the mess. You can't afford to drop any, alright? Just pick it back up and use it. On your external corners, just once you've got them in, just go up and there you go. You get a little bit of stuff hanging over the edges, but don't worry too much. You know, that will go as you're trialing it up. What you don't want now, you don't want sort of like, you know, big blobs like that hanging over the corners. Just work away from the corner and take them away. And as you go up that, because that curves that way, if you just go straight, that's actually working away from the corner. So do, you know, go up and down both sides and you'll get them sort of nice and neat with your trowel. You know, if you have a little tiny bit, doesn't matter, because it'll trowel off, but you don't have a big chunk, so when you hit it with the trowel, it'll knock off. And whilst I'm telling you, Kieran's sort of doing the sign language, because I told him, every time I've got plaster in my hair, tell me. But he's waiting till I'm on camera to start going. So, if I look like I'm eating it, I mean, you do drop a little bit more doing these sort of ceilings, especially in the corners. I end up with little bits in my beard, and my nose and all sorts, you know. Go back in the corner again for the second coat. Remember, it's the downward slope. It's the downward sweep when you can get that heel corner right into the angle. The upward one, you can't get this corner in because this one digs into this wall. So only on the downward sweep can you get right in tight. So just watch carefully. So I can't get right into the angle on the upward sweep, but I can on the downward there. Okay? And then look at all these lines here, so then I just get rid of them with the upward sweep, yeah? Now, I know right in there isn't perfect yet, but I'm just getting stuff in there because when I come to trowel up in a bit, there'll be enough gear for me to work with in there already. Yeah, the upward one you can't get right into the corner, but the downward one you can. What you can do is put your trowel like that into the corner as well. Yeah, and just take it like that. It's not ideal, but it gets the stuff in there for you, see? I'll show you again, put it in the corner like that. I just put it up. Now it leaves a bit of a ridge both sides, but it gets the stuff in the corner for you. These are really the trickiest part of these type of ceilings. So then you have to come along that, you know, and sort of get that back to a decent shape again. And the same on that side, you know. Like, oh, I'm stuck. There you go, like that. Yeah, and then just carry on. Just carry on out your corner. Yeah. They do take a little bit of farting around of them, but you know, you get it somewhere close. That's it, the second coat. So I'm happy now, I'd leave that now, because I can get that when I come with the first trowel. You know, when I come to flattening it, I can get that better then. When I've got my little spatula to hand, you know. Now, you could sort of stop, pick your spatula up and start putting it in with the spatula, but I mean, you've got the rest of the ceiling going on, so you don't want to be farting around in the corner for half an hour. You need to sort of, you know, don't rush, but you've got to keep going. You haven't got time for messing around yet. That's later. Oh, nearly round flattening, and basically up to there you can see all that's been flattened. And this bit here, you know, you can see it hasn't really been flattened yet. But what I want to show you is this, look. The corners aren't perfect yet. In fact, I haven't gone in them yet. I'm going to show you that in a second. So see the corners, they're close, but they're nowhere near neat. So as soon as I get to there, that corner, focus, as soon as I get to there, that's when I've been right round with the flattening, and I'll go back then and touch all the corners in, and you'll get to see that bit in a sec. Trying to rub it out my beard. Kieran's telling me where it is. Oh, I will shave this off at some point. Now, see, we've troweled, first trowel, but we've stayed out the corners a little bit, you know. I've sort of, you can go in a little bit with your trowel and sort of get on them, but, you know, they don't come down absolutely perfect. So what you do is take your trowel, get a bit of the stuff that you took off there, and just build them corners out nice of it, you know. Now what you've got to make sure you don't do, you've got to watch out that you don't put like a ridge in it, you know. So once you've sort of filled it in a bit, take it from there very gently. Yeah, and the other way. Just, I'm following that line. If I look up there, imagine a 45-degree line come out here. You don't want to be coming over and digging in, or coming over and digging in. You want to sort of stay to that 45. Now I've set it there. You can even, if you wanted to, take two hands like that, so just start getting that corner in neat. Yeah, you can go both ways. That's the beauty of this, it's rounded off so it doesn't dig in, you see. Now that's only the flattening. I'm yet to give it a wet trowel. I've got to give this a wet trowel, yeah, another wet trowel and a polish. And you can see the corner's almost perfectly shaped out now. Now I've still got the odd little line that I'm not going to spend too much time faffing here now, because I've got the other corners to do and I want to start giving it a wet trowel. Now I'll show you something else to do as well. As I'm troweling up, I keep any stuff that I take off, I put it on the side of the bucket. I mean, you don't put it on the bucket, you can put it wherever you want, but keep hold of some, because you can use that if you're digging in the corners. You can use that to start filling out. I mean, the easiest place I think is on the side of your bucket, but you know, Kieran keeps it in his pocket, so you just put it wherever you want. But as long as you've got some sort of gear, what you don't want to be doing is using the fat that you get later on. So that's been flattening in, so that's still like plaster. As the stages go on, as you're just like flattening on you, as you trowel up on your second trowel, say, anything you get off then, it's more like milky stuff. It's like fat. It doesn't set, it just turns to dust. So you don't want to be using that. Hence the reason I save the stuff from the flattening in, because that stuff is still plaster and it's all set in the same sort of time. So, little tip for you. Okay, so I haven't bothered showing you every single trowel because you know the process by now, but we're on the second wet trowel now. And just these corners here, these externals, just be careful now that you don't chip a big bit off the edge of it. So just with a gentle little brush, just to knock any overhang off so you don't smash it off with your trowel. And that's it, ready for the polish. Right, we're up to this, basically the second wet trowel now. And that's been finished with a little plastic spatula up to now. But we're not going to use that to completely finish it. So, when you get to it now, it's got the right shape. And what you want to do is now, you use your trowel and start polishing it up a little bit, you know. Just use the toe of your trowel if you need to get in there nice and neat. Now what you're going to end up with, the very, very corner is going to have a tiny little gap in it, in there. I'll get that as squared out as you can. If you've watched my other videos and you know about using the toe of your trowel instead of a corner trowel, get that as squared out as you possibly can. Right, like that on both sides. You can even use that back there just to cut it back flat. Now, take a bit of that with your finger. And just finish them corners in with it, and just pressing it in with my finger. Nearly ready now. Nearly ready for the polish. We're just getting these. There's a bit of faffing around them, but just take your time. Make sure that the shape's right. Fill the very angle of it out, all out, you know. Sorry, I'm not really speaking to you very much. I'm like muttering along whilst I'm doing it, but what I'm trying to say is get the shape. Don't try and finish it with the plastic. Go back a little bit. Finish it with your trowel. And then when you get down to giving it the polish shortly, it'll be close enough and you'll be able to just hit it with the trowel and it'll be done. Right, we've been around all the internal angles now with the toe of the trowel, which is nice and sharp and solid, the angle brush and a bit of plaster that we have on the bucket. Thank you, Kieran. We've been round, done all that. Now we're just going to go around and polish. Now with these, don't worry if you give it 2 coats, flattened it in, 2 wet trowels and a polish, and you still think it needs another one. This won't, this will be sound, but in the past, depending on what you're going over, you may have to give it 1 more, and that's just because sometimes it's going on a bit thicker in the cove part and what have you, and it just doesn't come down perfect on the polish, so you end up just giving it another wet trowel or another go over the polish. It doesn't, look, just do whatever it takes to get it nice. If it needs another go, give it another go. It's as simple as that. We're going to go around now and polish it, and then that'll be it, cleaned up, job done. That's it now, all starting to dry out nicely. Now, if I'm 100% honest with you, I wanted to give it another 30 minutes and then take this little clip for the last portion of the video, because as you know, plaster dries a bit patchy, it goes off faster in the thinner places, so I wanted to wait for the whole ceiling to go dark so it looked great for you, but I had to get for a pint after that day. You know, I just didn't want to be there any longer than I had to, so the tools were in the van and I wasn't just staying for another half an hour just for that clip. So you get the general idea of it anyway. Listen, talking about beer, if you want to buy me a pint, there'll be a link in the description, and there's a little link here somewhere as well. You can click on that and get me a pint to say cheers for the tips, Kirk. There's no obligation. But anyway, this was just a brief introduction to COVE ceilings. There's loads of different ways that I've got to show you, but I'm trying to, with these videos, I'm trying to cover each aspect of plastering step by step, and as we go on, they'll get more detailed and we'll go into more advanced stuff. But for now, I'm just trying to cover the basics on skimming, boarding, dabbing, you know, just step by step, and then over time we're going to go right into detail and really look at in depth some more interesting stuff. But anyway, hope you've enjoyed that. I've got nothing else to say for you, so see ya. There's one more thing I want to say to you. The comments section, guys, I'm getting overwhelmed. Look, I read all the comments and I genuinely look forward to all the comments. There's a few people that are like regulars that are always leaving comments like an it's like a little it's good. I love it. Like I look forward to waiting for the comments from you. So you know who you guys are anyway. Flipping on every single video, it's spot on. But I love reading the comments and you know, any encouragement and that for me, because that's the bit for me I really enjoy. One thing though, I need you to know, I don't, from YouTube, from the creator's point of view of the video, I see it in the creator studio. You're watching it on YouTube, like the viewer side. I'm on the creator studio side, so I get to see your comments, but I don't get to see the replies. So if you say something and I reply to you, when you reply to that, I don't get a notification for that. So unless I go out of my app and into the YouTube app and then start going for a million flipping notifications, I won't see it. So the reason I'm telling you that is because I don't want you to think I'm being ignorant. If you've replied to me and I didn't get back to you, I'm sorry. I just don't get to see it. So if you've got a specific question, then just post it as a new comment. And I might miss that, so post it a couple of times, because at the minute I'm getting like hundreds of comments and I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with it, and I don't want you to think that I'm sort of like, you know, not asked, because I genuinely do want to help you. So Also, I've been having some great little conversations with people as well. For the people that buy me a beer, they know in the little receipt that you get my phone number, and I've been having flipping fellas texting me through the week. It's making new friendships, so it's all quite good. Anyway, I won't waffle on. There's another video that you can watch, which will pop up here. See you later. I'm just giving you a chance. If you want to play that video, you have to literally poke the screen where it is, like touch it, all right? Otherwise it won't play. You can't just sit there and watch. You have to actually interact and press the screen. See you later.